Welcome to Trust Issues, only the kind that make you richer.
Hello, I am Ruma Mazumdar, real estate and estate planning attorney, founder of Key Esquire, and a woman who didn't really start her money journey until after a business launch, a divorce, and a hard look at my own bank account. Welcome to Trust Issues, only the kind that make you richer. So let's be real. Most of us weren't raised with the language of wealth. We learned hustle, we learned sacrifice, but no one taught us how to build, protect, and pass it on. This podcast isn't about perfection, it's about protection. It's about legacy, and it's about having real conversations around money, legal moves, and the mindset shifts no one teaches you, or at least the ones I was never taught. So today we're kicking things off by pulling back the curtain on my firm, the mission, and myself. So let's get into it. My journey into law. I didn't grow up dreaming of becoming a lawyer. I grew up in a typical immigrant household where money was tight, but the dreams were big. My parents started from nothing and built their own business with grit and hustle, but we never talked about money. The only time it really came up was when we didn't have enough, which felt like all the time when I was growing up. Scarcity. We knew how to work for it, we knew how to save it, but we knew nothing about making money work for you, growing it, or protecting it. It always had to be hard earned. Fast forward to my 20s, and I was making a decent six figures as a New York City attorney, checking all the boxes, but I still didn't feel like I understood the basics of wealth. Suddenly, financial advisors had my phone number, insurance agents had my phone number. They were calling my office line and asking me questions about wealth, the money that I was making, how I wanted to invest it, if I had retirement accounts, how much I was invested in stocks and bonds, and I was just totally lost. I was totally lost, and it felt so overwhelming. And the disconnect, I was like, I'm smart, I'm successful, but I'm completely unprepared. And that's what sent me down this rabbit hole. So over the next few years, I worked really hard, really long hours, as they do in the law. And I started saving my emergency fund because that was the only thing that made sense for me based on how I grew up. And then eventually, in the midst of the pandemic, I'd find my way into real estate law and now eventually estate planning. Because what's the point of working hard if you don't know how to protect what you're actually building? So Key Esquire, how did it come about? Key Esquire was born out of whim, somewhat, and intentionality as well. Once I got started, I needed a firm that spoke human, not legalese. One that respected people's time, money, intelligence, and one that didn't make clients feel small for asking real questions. But it was also born during a major transition in my life. I had just gotten married, and I was starting this business from scratch on the whim of my mom advising me, why don't you start your own firm? After watching me work really hard for years, anywhere from 60 to 80-hour weeks in the New York City law firm life. And I decided I would try it. What's the worst that could happen? If anything, I'd go back to corporate if it didn't work out. And then I start this business. Fast forward a year, I'm getting divorced. So it was a big life change. Now, almost 4 years in, I realized something that hit me like a truck. I was helping other people build their legacies, but I hadn't built my own. I hadn't saved any money since I quit my cushy corporate job and gotten divorced. I hadn't planned, and I was just operating like I had all the time in the world. And in that moment, that really changed how I started thinking about how I want to work with my clients, how I want to service them, and what I want to do even for myself and the legacy that I'm building. So now my values are baked into everything we do. I believe in empowerment through education. We talk to clients and teach them about the process that they're going through when they're buying a home, what's important, how to read the contract, how to understand the contract, how to use the contract to their advantage. Then once they have this asset, we're talking to them about planning, protecting, growing their generational wealth for their families, for their loved ones. We also value clarity over complexity. You'll never hear me using long, boring legal words. I actually hated that. Growing up, I feel like, one, because of my immigrant parents, I learned English here in America, but I also had a thick accent because the person teaching me were my parents, and sometimes they had accents on words. And I remember growing up and just feeling a little intimidated by the English language at some point. And then as I went through my schooling, even more so as we're in complicated courses, going through law school, reading about the laws, the statutes, what they mean, all these things that were written like thousands of years ago. And when the professor would be teaching, or I would be in court, or I would get a motion paper, or I'd even be discussing with certain colleagues and things like that, they would just use these long, fancy words, reading back to me what the statute says. And I'd just be like, I still don't understand. And so with that, I was like, I have to make sure that when I work with my clients, I am explaining things to them like any normal person could understand. And finally, strategy is important, but it's strategy with heart. We think about the holistic picture. We think about the person, and we really provide specialized services based on your needs, your goals, your family situation, and what you want to build for the future. It's more like people over paperwork. Okay, who do we serve? So at Key Esquire, we serve people in their most pivotal wealth moments. We specialize in residential closings, meaning buying and selling homes, and estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, all those fun words that you hear. So maybe you're buying your first home, maybe you're building a real estate portfolio, maybe you're getting divorced, you're starting over, you're planning for kids, maybe you've made some good money, but no one ever showed you how to protect it. A lot of our clients are millennials, just like me, and Gen X professionals, first generation creatives, business owners, and families who are doing all of this without a roadmap, really. And let's be honest, we're kind of the generation of figure it out. Most of us weren't raised having open conversations about money. We were taught to survive, not scale. And now we're navigating big life decisions with little to no guidance, that thing we call adulthood. But that's where me and my firm come in. I often do get asked how I ended up in real estate. And sometimes it's super cliche. One, I come from a real estate family, so it's just in my blood. It's second nature to me. It makes so much sense to me that, someone who hates real estate would just not understand why I understand it so well. But really, I grew up around it, dinner conversations with my parents. And to this day, we work together now. And I learn more and more about it every day. And for most people, real estate is really the first major wealth builder. It's so common for people. You buy a home, you invest in a property, and suddenly you're sitting on like 6 figures of equity, especially if you're buying in the New Jersey market where you literally can't find anything under $500,000, at least anything decent. And my parents are mortgage brokers, so I've always heard them talking about first-time home buyers, investors, business owners, and the intricacies of financing these big purchases. The loan options, the state grants, the down payment assistance, all of this knowledge that I have just from growing up in it. And then I saw the legal side of it when I opened my firm, and I took customers from their offers being accepted to keys in hand at the closing table. But one thing kept coming up over and over again. People just weren't protecting these assets. They weren't putting the properties into a trust or setting up an entity to shield themselves from liabilities. They weren't thinking about what happens if something goes wrong, or worse, when they're gone. So combining real estate and estate planning under one roof really just made a whole lot of sense. It's a full picture. It's proactive and it's not reactive. Wealth building is just the beginning, and protecting it, that's really the real flex here. So what does it look like to work with my firm? We start with a consultation, of course. And like I said, we don't have a one-size-fits-all situation. We really want to hear what you want, and then we help you get there. We want to understand, why did you sign the contract? Why did you agree to those terms? What's your financial situation? What makes up your family? What are you hoping for in the future? Do you have a 5-year, 10-year plan? We kind of talk about all of that, and we really get to know our clients. And then, of course, we do streamline the whole document delivery, because that is a part of us, me having a law firm and me being an attorney. All of my advice goes into a legal document that in the future will be helping you. We draft the documents, we review them together, you finalize and execute them, you understand where everything is, and you walk away with peace of mind. One of the biggest things I implemented in my firm too when I started it, especially because it was in the midst of the pandemic, was technology. The world went totally remote, and I totally took advantage of that and made sure tech was implemented in all facets of my business. So I work with people even out of the state, work with people who are abroad, and it's really opened up the type of clientele we can service. So all of this brings me to being an attorney, being a business owner, but also being an entrepreneur. And given the fact that I started this at such a huge transition in my life, married, divorced, business launch, It really started my whole mindset money journey. And there was a time not long ago when I was running this firm and I felt like a total fraud with my own finances. I was making good money, but like I said, I hadn't saved. I wasn't even trying to protect it myself. I was pouring everything into the business and carrying like the emotional weight of my divorce, some embarrassment from it, from some shame from it. And I feel like I was talking to my clients about their legacy and their liability and their protections and how to get them out of their rough spots, but I wasn't taking care of myself. So I started the real hard work of healing my money story, ceasing my fears, learning to feel safe when it came to wealth, to talking about it, understanding it, and building it for myself without feeling like it had to be earned the hard way. So I looked at investing. I looked at life insurance. I'm looking at business structuring, tax strategies. I have advisors now who are more educated than I am, who help me understand the things that I wasn't comfortable asking before. But I realized it's okay to not be comfortable. I'm an expert in my field, and these advisors are experts in their field. So I shouldn't feel dumb if I'm asking them a question about wealth building. They're the ones who can actually answer it for me. It's still a total work in progress, and every day I learn more, and every day I have to make bigger decisions about what I want to do with my firm, what happens if anything happens to me, what happens to my clients. These are all things on my mind that I'm constantly thinking about. Now, Key Esquire, a lot of attorneys start a firm and they name it after themselves, but I decided I was going to be different, and I was going to take advantage of a new rule that our state bar association had passed down, the ethics committee had approved, using trade names. So I came up with Key Esquire. And why Key Esquire? Because we give you the key to your home, to your protection, and to your peace of mind. We are the key to your transactions. And obviously Esquire, yes, because I'm an attorney. I don't lead with any sort of ego though. I lead with purpose. And the firm isn't my job. It's really my mission. I love helping people day to day the way that I get to. And I want clients to walk away knowing that they've secured more than a transaction. You've got an advisory team for life. You want to feel empowered about making decisions. You need a gut check with your legal team. Call us. That is what we're here for. What sets Key Esquire apart from all other firms? So most firms, I feel like, can be cold, confusing, dated. What you see on Suits. That's not really real life. I mean, maybe some facets of it. But Key Esquire, we're really warm, we're transparent, we're modern. If you look at our social media, I'm out there having fun, I'm with my dog, I'm traveling, I'm practicing law. It's super approachable, it's relatable. I'm adding the human aspect to the legal field. We are a remote law firm. We are woman-led. We are tech savvy. And most importantly, we are humans first. And we meet you where you are. There's no shame, there's no judgment. Whether you're buying your first property, you're rebuilding after a divorce, you're launching a side hustle, you're quitting corporate, you're finally facing those financial fears that had been sitting in the background for years, we're here for it all. And I love to hear people's stories, especially as I'm going through my own. And the other thing is, you're not too late and you're not behind. I'm about to be 35 and I feel like I'm just getting started. So this podcast exists because I've seen what happens when we wait too long to get our lives in order. And I've also seen what happens when we take control. I want to end with a quote from my business coach, Dan Martell. Your beliefs will dictate your outputs. That quote has been guiding me as I continue to build my firm. I believe there's a different way to do law, and now I'm doing it. And based on that, I've built the clientele that I work with and the way we impact them. So trust issues, it's where we unpack all of it. The real estate, the estate planning, the wealth, the money mindset, legacy, and life. No fluff. Because when you trust in yourself, you trust in your lawyer, you trust in the plan, that's really when you get rich in every way that matters. All right, and to get more information and find us, you can find us on our website, www.keyesquire.com. Like I said, find me on social media, ruma.esq, ruma.esq. And of course, at Key Esquire on all social media platforms.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.